introduce Cindy now, who's going to give you a little bit, tell you a little bit about herself, and then move forward with the content of our webinar. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much, Sharon, for introducing me and talking about SCORE, because I absolutely love this organization, and I'm excited to tell you guys about it and to get you guys the information you're wanting. So, a few things about you guys being here. It tells me a few things. It tells me that you want to show up for yourself, and it tells me you want to show up for your business. And with those two things, it can be a complicated process. So one thing I want to talk about is why I'm even here. So I didn't go to learning about business in the traditional way. I actually learned through life experiences. My parents own a restaurant, and I learned about everything business related directly through them, with having family and obstacles and all of these things that come together, learning finances, learning all of the departments that become involved. I had to piece things apart and pull them apart and then piece them back together. And that's why I'm here at SCORE. I want to help share that information so that you guys can have healthy, successful businesses and show up strong for yourself and for your businesses. So the three things you're going to get out of this is learning how to create and build those skills that you'll need. Hopefully build a little bit of confidence, if a little bit more than what you currently have, if there's any kind of barriers there, and to allow for the space to grow because it can be uncomfortable. So we're going to try to make that a little bit easier and a little bit more sustainable. You can go ahead to the next slide, Sharon. So first, we're going to talk about the hard part, and that's going to be the hurdles. To how many people does this look familiar? And that is this first side of the obstacle side that'll be on your left. So being forgetful and finally getting to do something and realizing, oh no, I missed something. I missed a call. I missed an email. And then having to figure out a solution for that, or feeling swamped and getting to a point where you want to do something, but there's just so much to do. You don't know where to start. And that leads to the last one, which could potentially lead to avoiding it altogether, which means leaving some potential things out that are good for you and good for the people that you're serving. And then all of a sudden it gets just left behind. How many people feel like you resonate with that and have had that happen to you? Wonderful, wonderful. Hi, Jennifer. So thank you, Danielle. You know, it's not always easy to admit when something like that is happening. So that's another reason why I'm excited that you're here, because as soon as you are able to recognize that something is happening, now you can try to solve that problem. So we're going to work backwards here. We're going to work on the solution side, and that's going to be on this right side here. So if you notice, each one of these lines has an opposite. So with forgetting tasks, now we're going to create the simplest steps possible to make sure that we don't forget anything and have the right systems in place to make sure that nothing gets left behind. Now we have celebrating wins, which means that every time you take even the smallest, whether it's research, whether it's just going to look at my email today, you can take that next smallest step. And now you're going to celebrate those wins to make sure that you show up for yourself. And in that moment, you did. And you want to build that momentum. So every time you have a little bit of a celebrated win, that's going to bring you to that next step that you need to take. And then finally is having support. That's going to be where SCORE shines. Here you have a mentor, you have someone that you can talk to. And if that person doesn't have the answer, I can guarantee you every person on this team will go out and ask someone that does know the answer. There is no such thing as too hard of a question solution that needs to be found. We truly believe in your success, and want to make sure that if there is something you're avoiding, if there's something that's difficult, just reach out to your score mentor and they're going to help you find that next step. So, how many of you have felt like every time you go into something that you feel rigid or you feel like you can't move forward because you're questioning yourself and you feel like you should already know it? Absolutely. So there is a way to move past this. So at the end of the day, there is no such thing as a perfect next step. You can fumble up, you can slip down and then get back up and try again. There is always a way to move forward and create that momentum. So, a better thought process to shift this to is going to be that you are here to get better. You're taking this next step to get better. You're wanting to improve. And as long as that is your next step, it doesn't matter if you do it well or not. It's just a matter of getting to that next step. You can go ahead and push all of those through. All right. So, how we think affects what we do. And that is exactly what this is saying. So, you have to embrace the learning aspect. You have a choice here between am I going to learn or am I going to be perfect? They can't live together. So, I want everybody to take a moment here, take a minute or so, and I want you to take a belief that you've had about yourself or starting your business that has held you back. If you don't want to write it into the comments, that's okay. But I would like everyone to take a moment to think about this question, just because if you know the answer to this question, then you have the next step that you know you need to work on. That's a good one. Selling is it is a huge part of business. So knowing that you have that belief, that's the first step. There's so many avenues that you can take towards trying to solve it, but at least acknowledging it is that first thing that you need to do. I would definitely suggest in this situation that that is going to be the perfect example of a conversation to have with a mentor to navigate through that. I see everybody's are coming through. Hold on, let me see if I can see some of these. One second. Ah, yes. So steps being small and getting stuck. See, that's another one. So I'm going to give you some tools throughout this process here to hopefully navigate around some of those complexities because we try to do it all. So let's try to make it as simple as possible while also making sure we have all the context. Okay, this is a great one. So, what if you fail the people that hired you to do a service? That is a really big fear. So, when you are doing something for someone, you're just giving it. So I think the biggest thing to take away here is to make sure that we're going through everything and you have all of the steps that you need. And if you could have shown up better, now you know what your next step is. It's not for them. Now it's internal. You have a next step for yourself. How do I show up for this person better next time? So I'm going to go ahead and keep going. I will come back to the rest of these towards the end because I do want to make sure everybody's gets addressed. Thank you, Sharon. All right, so now we're going to be talking about partnership. This is leading into how you can work with your mentor and why it's important that you do when you decide to sign up with SCORE and how you can show up. So your role on your end, it's going to be prepared, to take action, to learn, and to communicate. So, what do all these mean? All in all, it means that if we go from one session and you have a game plan, you've talked through it, and you get to the next session and you haven't completed anything, that means the next step to figure out there is why. And in order to be able to have that conversation, you have to ask questions. You have to show up saying, you know what? I didn't do a single thing and I don't know why. That's the next thing that we need to figure out. We can journal about that. You can have a conversation with your mentor. Hey, this felt a little overwhelming. Can we break this down further? It's about finding the next simplest thing that you can actually accomplish. And if nothing was completed, that means it was too big. So let's bring it down and break it down as much as possible. And that's going to require work from you. So if you're willing to show up, and you're ready to act and you're ready to learn, SCORE's commitment is that they're going to bring ideas. They're going to bring the support so that you don't do this alone. They're going to bring tools because they've been doing business for a long time. Everybody has so much knowledge, and it has been one of the biggest honors I've had because as I'm teaching you guys, I'm learning from you guys. I'm learning from my peers. And they have so many tools and resources that are readily available to give to you. So just make sure you show up. So that's going to require shifting your thinking just a little bit, even if it's, I don't know how to get to the next step. Willing to shift your thinking to, I know who to ask next. That's going to be the biggest impact this will make for you. All right. So we're going to continue on the building a strong partnership with SCORE as a whole. So one is that we want you to be present. If you're here, show up on time and you're focused because how you show up for anything is how you show up for everything. So how can you show up for the people that you serve if you don't show up with the other things that you have in your life that you have asked to do? So as Sharon mentioned, everybody here is a volunteer and everyone here wants to see you succeed. And in order for that to happen, we have to show up. The next is going to be communication. So it's going to require two steps. You have to say what you need, even if it's scary, even if it's hard, if you fear judgment, you have to just get it off your chest. Because in order to get help, the other person on the other side has to know you need it. And that's going to require the second step, which is to be honest. Be honest to your SCORE mentor, be honest to the people around you that want to help specifically, and be honest to yourself because sometimes it's easier to lie to ourselves than it is to actually go through the problem that we need to navigate. So let's be honest with ourselves. And then engaging, and that is going to be to actively participate. Every person here has the opportunity to meet with others that are on the same journey that they are. They have the opportunity to meet with others that are already in their fields, to meet with other entrepreneurs. So I would challenge you to try to find those groups. And if it doesn't feel good, find a different group. But I would challenge everyone here that it's important not to just have one person to talk to, but to have multiple. Because if you have a community, you're able to learn and teach all at the same time. And um, that communication back and forth will help ingrain it into your brain even further, just because now you are learning how to teach as well. All right. So we're going to move into how to make the business process and planning a little bit easier. So you have a business idea. How do you go from I have these tool or I have this idea? How do you move it into I have a plan and I'm executing the plan? So we're going to go over 5 tools today, and I'm going to challenge each of you to go through each of these processes, and I want you to write down what you currently use. Because at the end, if you have things that are conflicting with one another, or you have too many tools that you don't want to use all of them and you want to try to find a way to combine them, this will be a great way to see where you are currently. And we want to make sure that in order to help you, we need to know where you currently are. So this is where I'm going to ask you to be honest to yourself And if you don't know the answer, just say you don't know the answer and what you think it could be, or anything along those lines. I just want you to try to have something tangible after this webinar so that you're able to go ahead and take the next steps moving forward. All right, so here are the 5 tools. So one is going to be your inbox. That is where all new ideas go to be moved into the next step. Then you have your calendar, and that's going to be to plan and protect time. We're going to go into that more later, but that is a really important distinction to how I think we use calendars on a day-to-day basis. Next, we have notes, which is to capture learning and ideas. Then we have projects, which is a large entity that has to be broken down based on your goals and the actions you need to take. And then finally, you have quick wins, which are things that come up that don't take a whole lot of time, but they build energy and confidence when you get them completed. All right, number 1, we have the main inbox. So this is specifically to get everything that is in your head and put it on either paper or another system, whether that's online. It's to get it out of your head. If you do not have an inbox, you are physically your own inbox. And if you look at this picture here, you have all 5 of those tools, and she's holding a box with papers and things like that. This is a representation of what you're doing when you don't have these tools in place. And we want to make sure that you are able to use your time, your energy, and your mind for the things you actually want to use them for, not to be in box itself. So we're going to get all those things out. And now, because you have those tools, you have a trusted place for everything. So you don't have to worry about things slipping through the cracks because you have a system in place. Now, the only way this is going to work is if you use this daily and check for anything being missed or any patterns weekly. You want to make sure this is a part of your daily process. Now, I know that that sounds like it could potentially be daunting if you don't already do it. But again, I want to reiterate, if you aren't doing this in a system, you're doing this in your brain. And this takes a lot of mental energy. So you can either choose to do it this way and keeping it in your brain, or by actually writing everything out and finding something that works for you. There are so many resources, and we're going to go over some of the higher tech options and some low tech options just to see what you currently use and if it's working for you and if you want to try something else. So some of those examples are going to be Google Keep is for a high tech option. Google Keep is a part of the Google network. Every single one of these is going to have a Google option because I know that a lot of people want to have one location for everything, and Google is a great place to do that. They have a lot of different tools and resources, and this is going to be one option for your inbox if you want to keep it online. Okay, now here's the low tech option. This one's going to apply to multiple things, but you can use a tray if you have different categories of things and you want to put it all in one place. You can do an audio recording, which isn't technically high tech. It's just a matter of hitting record on your phone or another recording device so that you're able to keep it. And then, of course, a notebook. And that's going to be just writing everything out. There's different ways to structure it, and it's pretty open for how it is that you think. But so these are going to be the main categories of low tech options. Keeps it simple, makes it physical, and whichever works for you or a combination of these, as long as it works for you, test some things out to see if it does. And if it doesn't, there's a lot of resources that you're able to go through to find some solutions for you. I will also have my email in the information that gets sent. So at any point, if you guys find you're having a hard time with figuring out which of these tools is going to be best for you. I have no problem sitting with you, talking through what you currently use, what may work, what may not work, because I don't think that this is a one size fit all, and it is very catered to how you think. So I don't mind doing that for any of you guys either. All right, next is the calendar. Okay, so main thing I want to talk about here is going to be what the calendar is for. And that is going to be specifically to plan, but more importantly, protecting your time. Why is that important? Because time is an asset. It is valuable to you. And if you have an intention of creating something, that has to come with purpose. So, in order for you to protect not just what you're trying to make, but your mental space, you have to allow for space for the things that are important that need to happen. So, for example, if you create a plan and you have kids and you made a 12-hour schedule on your calendar, all towards your business, and left no room for your kids, all of a sudden, something that is important to you was completely disregarded accidentally, but it can happen. So, this is to ensure that we're intentional with what we're keeping and what we want to make sure we add. So, you want to block times for focus, meetings, and breaks. It is proven time and time and again that when you schedule in your breaks and you actually take them, that you're more likely to get more done because you aren't 100% overwhelmed and tired, because doing hard things can take a lot of mental energy. All right, now this is a high-tech option for your calendar, and that is going to be Google Calendar. I'm sure everyone has heard of Google Calendar. There's some other options out there like iCalendar if you have an iPhone. Um, I did want to present this one as the option because, like I mentioned, I wanted to have one main system for everyone that wanted to keep it a little simple. So if you have Google Keep for the inbox, the calendar here with Google Calendar. Now you have two systems under the same system, and you're able to track the things that you find valuable. So if there's something that you want to make sure you keep, make sure you have it all in one location. If you have multiple calendars, it would be beneficial to put it all into one so that it doesn't get distracting. You can put it in different colors if you have different types of things you want to track, and that could be an alternative if you like to categorize things. All right, so now here is our low tech option. I would say for power outage. So that's the complication that comes with high tech. So everything has its pros and cons. When you have an outage like just happened a few weeks ago, my actual high tech option was actually down. And so what I did, I have a mix of physical um, and high tech options. So for me, I have my main priorities and goals on in a planner. So that way, if it is down, I still know the things that I want to focus on. So even though I may not have all the nuances because that's on my high tech option, I make sure that I have at least an overview so that I know that if something does go down, I know exactly what I need to focus on. That's important to me. So for this low tech option, you can do a planner and use the calendar in there. You can use your notebook, and I know that there's people that create all sorts of calendars and um, and systems with planners, whether that's horizontal and going line by line. Line one is day one, line two is day two. And then there's also simplified ones for the week, like the one that you see here in this photo, that could be used for that purpose, or even a desk calendar or something like that, something that you're able to see all the time. This is also going to be somewhere you want to put all of your appointments. So that's the other thing. So appointments tend to be the thing that stays consistent. Usually you can't move those around. Just make sure that the appointments that you are setting are aligning with your overall goals as a business. So if you're meeting with someone for something you've already done that no longer needs to happen, it's kind of pointless to have that meeting. So just make sure that while appointments are they stay in a certain time bracket because they have a date and time, make sure it's a meeting you actually need to have. All right. So for tool 3, we have capturing notes. So with notes, the main way to use this is for learning and info as a personal library. So if you have a meeting that you took notes on, then you want to make sure you have a reference to that information. That's where notes come into play. Notes can be a little tricky because it can be confused with the inbox. And the inbox, that's where all of your actions go. This is just for reference. So if you're taking notes and you have actions that come up, make sure you move them into your inbox so that they do not intersect and that you don't get things that gets missed. So as far as how do you get those done, you can use a notebook, voice recording, AI. There's so many different tools for when it comes to notes capturing that this one I think would have the most options. So here I have a lot of options, and this is the one that I tried to put in as many different kinds, but not too overwhelming. So one is Gemini. So if you want to take notes through AI, so then that way you can move things around with it. And even as you type it up, you can move it into another place for reference, but you can also use that information for coming up with ideas later or asking it questions about patterns and things like that. So that is one high-tech option. Some other ones are going to be Evernote, which is a note-taking system, Notion, which can be used in a lot of ways, and I wanted to make sure it got presented here. There is a little bit of a learning curve, but it can be created to pretty much what you want. So that is something that can definitely be maximized for notes. Trello is basically a system where you create cards and you can put all of your notes for a meeting in there. And then you have Google Keep, which is similar to the inbox one, but you'd want to keep the two separate. So you'd have to have something for your note system and something for your inbox system. And then, of course, you also have notes apps. I did have one other one I wanted to mention that is not written here, and that is OneNote. OneNote is a Microsoft version that is also very popular and a really good comparable to Evernote. All right, here we go. We've got projects and next steps. So this is a really big one. This is where a lot of people get stuck. So a project um, can be as simple as doing dishes. And we're going to use this example here as we talk through it because something as simple as the dishes, I hate doing dishes. I can't stand it. And when I go to do the dishes, I have to tell myself something, and we'll talk about that here. So, the purpose of projects is to break down things, break down goals, break down things that you want to have the next step, and make the next smallest step. So, if my large project is to clean the house, and one of those sub projects is to do the dishes. That is not the smallest step. Doing the dishes puts me on edge, and I'm probably not going to do it if I think about it in that way. So the next smallest step that I can put in there is I'm going to clean a cup. I'm going to clean a fork. I'm going to clean one dish. And so by the time I get done washing that one fork, that one item, all of a sudden I'm celebrating that I completed this one task, so much so that I just end up doing some more. And then all of a sudden the dishes ended up getting completed because I found this next smallest thing. And when I say smallest, you have to agree to completing that task. So until you agree to doing the task, it is not small enough. You have to keep digging. You have to keep making it smaller and smaller. If you don't know what your next step is, and that is a huge obstacle I see happen with my clients at SCORE. They don't know what the next step is, and that itself is a huge project. So what's the next step? Research. Researching what is the next step to take. That is the next smallest step. I know research can be a little intimidating, but if you research doesn't have to be you going on Google. Research doesn't have to be you going on AI and asking it. Google research can be asking someone that's already done it. And that's where those questions come into play with your mentor. Because if you ask them, hey, I want to do this, I don't know what's next. I promise you, they'll give you some idea as to what the next step is. And when you find that this still isn't small enough, okay, let's dig this even further. So every time you see something you don't know what to do next, you have to get a shovel and start digging and figuring out what is the next smallest thing here that I am willing to do. Because until that next part happens, the willing to do, it's not small enough. It's too big. All right. So we have Google Workspace as a whole being the project manager here. They don't actually have a project manager per se, but you can use all of these tools in different ways to get the solution that you're wanting. So Google Workspace is one. Trello is an one that we mentioned before. And Trello can also be used in this way because they create separate cards. So there's different styles that you can use with Trello to try to take these large projects and break it down into its parts. And it does it in a pretty simple way. Asana is another one. It is specifically made for project management and task management for businesses, but they do have a free version for single entities and things like that. Monday.com is similar to Asana, and I believe they have a short time free version. It does move way simpler than Asana. Asana, you can get really detailed. Monday.com is super simple. So if you're wanting something really, really simple and you wanted to try it out, that could be a good option. Notion. So we're going to come back to this one because I mentioned that this could work for many things. And Notion, you have to create all of the spreads that come with it. So there's a little bit of a learning curve, but it can work as your project manager if you wanted to learn how to navigate through that and thought that it was worth doing so. And there's other digital checklists that if you just wanted to make it as simple as possible, take your project and find all of the tiny little steps that you can think of and put it in a checklist. And then as you figure out what else needs to be added, you just add it on there, put it in the order you want to put it in, and then just check it off. That's going to be the simplest way to do it on in a high-tech solution. All right, so now low-tech solution. The reason I put sticky notes here is because sticky notes are easy to use, they're movable. So as you're thinking through it, as you're adding things, as you're adjusting, you don't have to erase, you don't have to move things, you don't have to make a mess. You just move it where you need it to go. And that way you can put things together. If you don't know what all the steps are, you can group them together by types of tasks that work for you, how you think. And then that way you're able to get everything and get a grand picture and add to it. You can change it at any time if you decide, hey, this process is not working for me. I thought it was going to work and it's not working. Now you're able to create an entire new system and you don't have to rewrite everything. All you have to do is move around the sticky notes. Someone did mention here that one of the options here is that there is um, offline options for some of the tools in the digital options. So thank you for that. All right. So for the next one, this one is quick wins. This is specifically to build energy, clear mental clutter, and for tasks that are short that you can do in under 5 minutes. If you want to do 2 minutes, it might even be better. So it is things that you can get rid of now that you have as a task. So let's say there's a quiz that you wanted to take that takes 2 minutes, but it will help you towards figuring out something about yourself that will move you forward. Then go ahead and get that done. 2 minutes. Create a section of your day or put it into your calendar of specifically a time to do all of your quick wins. So then if it's the first thing you do that day, now you're building energy, you're clearing any mental clutter because all of those teeny tiny tasks you've managed to knock out and they're out of the way. All right, let's see. So the biggest thing that I want to say with this page is that action is key. It can be ugly, it can be pretty, it doesn't really matter as long as you get going. So the secret of getting ahead is getting started. If you look at this picture and the dominoes are just standing there, the art itself and the act of falling, the act of doing the process, it doesn't start until you actually press the domino. Now, here's the thing. If you go in and to press a domino and you pressed it too lightly and it didn't go, you still did an action. So I don't want you to try to be perfect. We want you to try to take advantage of the fact that you want to take that next step and figure out what that next step is. Even if it's not getting you the result that you want, it's at least getting you in a place where you are earning confidence and earning trust in yourself to move forward to the next step. It keeps you moving. And this is where growth comes into play because if I go to press the dominoes and I didn't hit it hard enough, so it didn't go, now I have to at least celebrate my win that I attempted. And now I'm going to try again. I just know I have to press it a little harder. And that room for growth, that room for allowing for it to make that change, make that adaptation, that is where you allow yourself to have uh, a little bit more confidence, and you're willing to do things because you've seen yourself messed up and you've allowed yourself to correct. You've allowed yourself to do something different and learn from that situation. All right, now here I want to go over an example of what it would look like with someone that has a mentor, has a system, someone that is going through this process versus someone that isn't. Now, is it possible to have a successful business without doing any of this? Sure, it is 100% possible, but wouldn't it be better and easier to do it with something that works for you and creating the systems that your brain is already trying to process through and give it an outlet? It would make it that much easier. And now you have someone that supports you. So the example here we have is Alex. So Alex is overwhelmed. Alex has missed their tasks and they've gotten stuck a few times. Um, it is imperative. And I'm going to ask you guys to ensure that you don't do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. So I'm going to give you a story example here with Alex. So Alex, he had a passion for coffee and had a great product. And he spent all of his time focusing only on the roast because he wanted to perfect it. He wanted to make sure that he was giving his customers the best coffee he could give them. So what he did struggle with was pricing, marketing, and distribution. So his efforts were scattered because he needed to get these things done, but he was so focused on perfecting the coffee that all of these things got on the wayside. And so that's what caused all of these feelings. He missed opportunities because the pricing, the marketing, and the distribution were completely in his control. And if he had someone guiding him to look at those opportunities, then he would have gotten a little bit more traction. And he ended up getting stuck in trying to get new customers. And so I don't want to see you guys get into that place. I want to see you guys succeed. I want to see you guys get to that next place. So Maya, this is how I want you guys to feel. Um I want you guys to be able to leave here and know your next step. So Maya, on the other hand, she worked with a score mentor, and her mentor helped her gain clarity on a niche market. So now she has a specific group to focus on, and helped her learn the right tools to create a simple marketing plan and a profitable pricing strategy. So this helped her to achieve consistent progress. So she was also perfecting her coffee, but she was able to make time for the priorities and other opportunities that allowed her business to flourish. And so she's having consistent progress where Alex was feeling stuck because he was only focusing on perfecting his coffee. So they didn't lack effort. Both of them gave equal amount of effort. It was the presence of support and a clear plan that made the difference between these two companies. Okay, so we're going to go over all of the things that we talked about. And this is just a quick review. So for your mindset, I want you to be open and willing to grow, even though it's scary. You don't need to know it all. And if you're in that space, that's going to create less stress and allow you to leave the space for more learning, because you have to be open in order to learn. If you're too scared, you're going to be in a place where you're not wanting to learn because you just want to protect yourself. And we want to get you out of that place. We want to get you open and ready with the uncomfortable, because that's where you grow. Next is partnership. So we want you to collaborate actively, whether it's with a mentor, whether it's with the groups that I'm challenging you guys to go out and find a group that works for you. I want you to collaborate. Every time you meet with someone, think of it as a moment in time where you have the opportunity to grow with that person. And then with tools, this is to systemize your work. So all of these 5 systems, they're going to lower your overwhelm and give you more of a sense of control while also allowing flexibility. Now, for action, it's the biggest takeaway here is to take small steps. And you consistently have to ask yourself, what's the next smallest thing to do? And that's going to help you build momentum and progress. And then the last one is going to be consistency. So done is better than perfect. So that small task that you thought wasn't that big of a deal, that is better than waiting to do it until you feel it's perfect. Because that, after you continuously do it, it's going to actively get you towards your goals and keep you on track with what you want to do versus just combating everything that all of the little tiny things that you're trying to perfect. So let's remove perfection from the brain. All right, so now we're going to take a couple of minutes here because I want you guys to have your next simplest step ready to go. Out of everything we've heard, I want you to come up with what is the next thing you're going to do after this webinar, whether that's going to be your brain dumping session where you're going to spend about 10 minutes writing or so that everything that is in your head and get it on paper, so then you can now move it into a system that you would like to move it into, whether that's scheduling your first session with a mentor with SCORE, or whether it's to name one specific business goal that you have. I want everyone to take a moment here to write what you think your next business step is. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go through some of the chat and see if we can answer some of those questions and things that came up in comments. And I want to make sure that everyone has um, some insights on how to move forward here. So I see someone here said that they were comparing themselves to entrepreneurs and think that they have more options to succeed than you do. And I'm here to tell you that that is not true. You have an entire team at SCORE that is open, willing, and ready to help you. If you want to take that next step, just reach out to someone at SCORE and they'll walk through you on what those next steps will be and based on what your situation is. Getting the right people in the right place. That will happen with time. Clarity is key because the right people need to hear the right message. So as your message becomes clearer, the right people come to you. I see someone said, feeling stuck wearing multiple hats. So the reality is when you're in business, you are all of the departments, unless you have a department in those sections. So you are wearing multiple hats. The reality is learning how to juggle those hats. Those hats are going to be there and finding a way to make it work for you so that you're able to show up to the customers that you want to help is going to be the main key. So another situation here where I would say it would be best to reach out to a SCORE mentor to help you through thinking through that thought process so that you're able to build those systems. I see a question here about having a separate email. Um, so with having a separate email, it's going to depend on you as a person. You're saying that it's not quite working to have it within your current email, then that might be a sign to try to have a separate email. Reason being, you're able to create more folders, you're able to kind of separate personal and work. So it could be good for you if this isn't quite working for you. I would give it a try. Anything that isn't working, take that as feedback that a change may need to happen. Yes, Notion is free. So while it does have a huge learning curve and there's a lot of things you can do with it, you can pretty much create every single one of these systems in Notion. It is free. So that's one of the pros. Does anybody have any other questions before we go here today? Okay, I see someone entered. I'm glad this was helpful.
Cindy, thank you so much. This was really wonderful, and you can tell by the comments here as well. People have really appreciated it. So everyone, please know you will receive a copy of the slides. You will receive a link to the recording. And if you have any questions, that Cindy will have her information in there. And as she said, get in touch, request a SCORE mentor. It's very easy and very helpful in moving you in the right direction. So, Cindy, thank you.
Thank
Terrific.
you, everyone, for being here and sharing. It's been wonderful hearing all of your perspectives.
Oh, that's great. Also, the
Beautiful.
people who have suggested things that they've already used, that's very neat too to see.
Absolutely.
So Notion was one of them, and the other one was that if you keep your stuff in the cloud, like with any of the notes applications, and your power goes out, you can go to a coffee shop, you can work offline. There, that was a really helpful comment too.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't have that experience, so for me, I missed that part.
No, I mean, collaboration. Here we are.
Absolutely,
People.
yes.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We will hope to see you another time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.